I was driving down the road this week, and all of a sudden I realized something. You know that moment when the light bulb goes off? Covert narcissists are self-focused, right? Okay, that's not the light bulb. I get that. If I didn't get that by now, then why am I running this podcast? Everything they do and say is centered around themselves. They're very focused on the me, myself, and I. But not always. This was the light bulb. So let me dive in a little further before I share it with you. That me focus, someone gets an award at work, and their response is, but what about me? Aren't I doing a good job? Someone gets a compliment, but what about me? I deserve to be noticed too. The kids like a meal that you fixed, but what about me? I fixed dinner 2 nights ago and no one told me they liked it. Nobody includes me. No one asked me to help. No one wants to play a game with me or spend time with me. That's that me focused. They live a very me focused life until you are looking for an apology from them. Then the script changes. Now they become very you focused. I'm Renee Swanson, your host of the Covert Narcissism podcast. And today we're talking about apologies from a covert narcissist. I didn't really realize until this week how much the script flips when it's that moment in the conversation where an apology should take place. You know that spot when you're having a conversation and maybe you're trying to kind of resolve an issue or talk through something, and you're in that moment where an apology should exist. Have you ever really listened to the way the language and the dialogue from a covert narcissist changes? There's a flip in their focus. You hurt me when you said this or that. You disregarded my feelings. You did that on purpose. You made me mad. If you ever want a covert narcissist to talk about you, point out something that they have done to upset you. And then watch how their language changes. Now, this carries into their apologies. I'm sorry that you got upset. I'm sorry that you got your feelings hurt. I'm sorry that you think I said that. I'm sorry that you have no sense of humor. You see, covert narcissists do not want the spotlight on them in a time when their behavior is being questioned. When they are in that moment of being called out for something harmful that they did or said, they flip that script incredibly fast. And now the focus is on you. You see, in order to genuinely apologize, you have to allow yourself to be put under scrutiny. You know, those moments where you are truly apologizing to someone you care about, you have to allow your words and your actions to be called out. You have to give them the space to reflect on what you did. And you have to acknowledge your own behaviors and that it hurt this person that you care about. You have to embrace some humbleness. And this requires one thing amongst others, but one thing in particular that covert narcissists do not have. And that is self-reflection. You know, for someone who lives such a me-focused world, it is amazing that they cannot self-reflect. They can self-praise, they can self-adore, they can self-admire, they can self-promote, they can self-defend. So many self-focused things, but they cannot self-reflect. So as soon as they are put in a position that requires that of them, they turn it around on you. The self-focus becomes you-focused. Instead of self-reflecting, they reflect on you. So their apologies are missing that one huge key component, self-reflection. Let's look at some examples of this switch in the script. I want you to be able to start identifying it in your world and in these conversations and circular conversations. This is one of the things that keeps the circle going and going, is flipping that script back and forth. One of the simplest apology switcheroos is when they say, I'm sorry, but you, and fill in the blank. But you made me mad. But you were late to that dinner. But you should have moved the car. Whatever it is, This is a very direct and fast attempt at getting the spotlight off of themselves and onto you. Not only onto you, but onto something that you have done wrong either now or somewhere, anywhere in your past. They feel free to call up anything in order to get that spotlight off of themselves. And as soon as you take that bait, as soon as you acknowledge the but you part, then the focus switches back on them. Once they have you taking responsibility for that but you part, then they want to be back in the center of attention. I'll give you an example. They might say, I'm sorry. Like, let's say you're calling them out on being late. They were late to dinner. And they go, I'm sorry, but, you're always late. You made us late for that movie last week. That's the but you part. And if you bite on that, I know I'm late sometimes, and I'm sorry about that. I had to take that phone call. Now you are defending yourself. Well, then they say, well, everything else is more important than me. Did you hear the switch? Now we're back to me. It really bothers me when you are late. I don't say anything because I don't want to upset you, because it makes me feel unimportant. I was trying to take you out on that date to that movie, and I worked so hard to make it a special night, and you made me feel like I don't matter. Do you hear the switch? As soon as you are taking responsibility for the problem, they pounce on that. This is their chance to switch the focus back on them, and you might not even notice. You were late that one time. But this is a great way for them to get themselves back off the hook. This starts with something you are focused on, of something that they did or said. They switch the focus to you. You take the bait. Now you're on their hook, and they switch the focus back to them. It is such a great way for them to not take accountability, and it's so subtle. It's so passive-aggressive, and it puts you on the defense and puts them back in control of the narrative. I'll give you another example. Maybe they belittle you for your cooking. Let's say that, you've been cooking all evening and making this fancy meal, and their words are, I can't believe that your mom didn't teach you to cook better than this. This is horrible. How could you serve this to me? I can't eat this. I'm ordering food. All of this is me focused. You've worked hard on the meal. You put a lot of effort into it, and he or she didn't even give it a chance. Well, this hurts. You get upset. You quietly clean the kitchen, but their words are ringing in your ears. Meanwhile, they go order some food, and maybe they eat it right in front of you, bragging about how good it is. And look at, now this is what I'm talking about. This is the best chicken I've ever had. I could eat like this every day. Still very me focused. And then you speak up. Your words really hurt my feelings. Your actions really hurt. You might even say, I'm sorry that you didn't like the food. I'm sorry that it wasn't good. But your words were mean and unnecessary, and that hurt. Now, their tone shifts. Now, they become you-focused. Maybe it's with gaslighting. Well, you heard me wrong. You never listen. You remember that time when you didn't hear me right when I said, whatever it is? Or you can't take a joke. Boy, you're so sensitive. How can you live life that way? All of this shifts and becomes you-focused until you get on the defense. How about an apology that comes out here? It's a real subtle one. Maybe they say, I'm sorry that you got upset. That can feel genuine. It can seem real at first. But what does it really say? That the problem is not what they said. The problem is that you got upset. The problem is you and your feelings. If you had not gotten upset, then everything would have been fine. This is no longer about their behavior. It's about your reaction to their behavior. Basically, they're saying you shouldn't have gotten upset. They're not, part A was their actions, their behavior toward you. Part B was your reaction. They're apologizing for part B, not part A. Part A was their behavior. They're not acknowledging part A. I'm sorry that you got upset. They're acknowledging part B here. The apology says nothing about their behavior, and this shift is barely noticed. Like I said, it can seem so genuine. Especially early in the relationship, it can feel caring when they say, I'm sorry that you got upset. It drops your guard. We're taught in childhood that apologies go both ways. So maybe we even apologize too, because apologies go both ways. They own their part, so we need to own ours. So what do we say? Okay, I'm sorry that I got upset too. Hooked. Now you're on their hook. Because now they switch the focus back. It really bothers me when you get upset. It makes me feel like I'm such a bad person. I really try to do everything right. It's exhausting working so hard to keep you happy. Now the attention is all back on them. You are tap dancing around them again, doting around their feelings, taking care of them to make sure they feel okay. You are bandaging them while your heart is still bleeding out. By the way, the thing that they did that upset you, they still haven't apologized for that, nor do they intend to. And that behavior never changes. They're going to do it again because there's no recognition of what they are doing or that it's a problem. They aren't focused on their behavior, but rather just on your reactions to their behavior. Other examples of the narcissist apology are things like, I'm sorry that you overreacted. What? Again, that's flipping that switch and making it you focused until you get defensive and go, I know I overreact sometimes, but this one was justified, this one, whatever. And now you are defending yourself and it flips right back. But now you are the one being too dramatic, too emotional, and too reactive. How about, I'm sorry that you think I said that. You can't remember anything right. Your memory is bad. You should listen to me since my memory is superior. All of this, that little subtle switch to you focused until you drop your guard. Another example is, I'm sorry that you can't take a joke. That's not an apology. Strategies for stopping this narcissistic apology switch do exist. I'm going to give you some examples here. So instead of losing your cool and reacting in frustration, because I get it, but that's what they're looking for. As soon as you do that, it flips back to me focused, and now you're taking care of their feelings. So we need some strategies to deal with these incredibly frustrating situations. So when they say, I'm sorry that you got upset, instead of losing your cool, just tell them calmly, don't apologize for my feelings. Talk about what you did. If they say, I'm sorry that you overreacted, tell them, don't apologize for my reactions. I'll take care of that. Apologize for what you did. If they say, well, I'm sorry that you think I said that, I heard that one. Tell them, don't apologize for my reality. Talk to me about what you said. How about the apology, I'm sorry, you know I had a bad childhood. Tell them, don't apologize to me for what your childhood has done to you. Apologize for what your childhood is doing to me. What if they say, I'm sorry, but I've been really stressed lately? Again, tell them, don't apologize for what your stress is doing to you. Apologize for what your stress is doing to me. These responses keep them on the carpet for their behavior. Keep them focused on their behavior. They will either self-reflect and genuinely apologize, but since you're here listening to the podcast, don't hold your breath on that, okay? You are dealing with a covert narcissist, so that's probably not going to happen. But if it's a healthy relationship, then there will be some self-reflection. Or they're going to continue dodging accountability. Continue frustrating you, continue putting you on the defense, continue exploding in either rage or victim mode when you try to hold them accountable. I hope this helps you to better understand the narcissist apology and why it doesn't feel like an apology. When somebody apologizes but their behaviors never change, that's not truly an apology. And this is why. Because they flip it to be you focused. And as soon as you take the bait, as soon as you get defensive, they flip it right back to the me focus. They go right back to the covert narcissistic manipulative tactics. And the behavior never changes. I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing.